No, the structure is not 61 feet.
No, it's
from the property line.
The structure itself is 40 feet
But
Right.
the distance from the
from the
property
fence
line,
to the end of his shop is 61 feet.
yes,
So he's got 20 feet, 20 plus feet on the north side and less than 12 feet on the east or on the south side
correct.
of each side of his building. His setbacks are a little wonky because I went over there and measured that.
So he exceeds the setback requirements on the street side. Okay? I mean, if it's 50, he's way out of his lot size to begin with. Even if it's 70, he still is, his footprint will exceed, he'll be into the street area. So you really don't, the setbacks aren't being met. And there are other bigger problems that must be considered. If that building goes in there, I think that based on my experience, my house on Lover's Lane now is considered residential commercial. And that's due to the fact that Kevin and Kelly were able to build their shop, which enabled Richard Anderson to build his shop next door to me. And once they built that, and then it was considered to be a junkyard, they devalued the property to residential commercial. So anyone living in the area where they're talking about building now should be contacted to see whether they approve of this structure going in. I understand he has already done a considerable amount of work. And I understand that a lawsuit is probably going to occur. But he's not going to improve the town. He's going to degrade the town. And he's not a bad, I don't even know him, but he's probably not a bad person. But he's not going to bring new business to the town. And
He's not planning on putting in a business that I'm aware of.
he's going to work on repairing four-wheelers and stuff like that. That's what I was told.
who bought?
Sure, you said that.
That's what he said at first.
You said that before Christmas.
I know, I know. But then, when I asked him again, just not too long ago, he said no, he was not going to put a business in there. What he does is, it's his own personal shop. He's going to tinker with his own toys.
Well, then he's got a lot of toys because that's a huge building.
He's got a I don't know what all he's got, but I know he's got several snowmobiles and some.
You know, I know we're afraid of the
Four-wheelers or something.
$35,000 lawsuit, and we should be. But that might be a small price to pay to retain the integrity of that section of town. And
Okay, let me ask you though, have you went around that area or anywhere in town, drove around and looked at the integrity of the whole town?
It
Because
sucks.
I'm saying, that's exactly what I'm saying. There have been so many violations of
but
the
why
code.
make it worse? Why compound
I'm
the
trying
problem?
to, not to, and I'm trying to correct it at this point. But
So I have a question.
before, just a minute, Tammy. Before we take out our brooms and start sweeping off someone else's doorstep, take a soiree around town and tell me which broom needs to be taken out first.
A lot,
Because
sure.
before, I know, and that's exactly my point, before we take out our brooms, go sweep off someone else's doorstep. Start with your own first.
There's
okay.
only,
Can I
there's
add a
only,
second? I want to say something.
Just a second, we have to go by who has the floor right
There's
now?
only so much you can do to what's out there now. But that doesn't mean that we have to allow new stuff to contribute to the old problems.
And that is exactly why we are looking to reword and amend the ordinances. So from, once we get those passed at public hearings and things like that, we'll get that in place, and from now on, it will be a clear and consistent statement that they have to follow.
But I think we have to stop it right here. Not let this go.
Hope, would you address that?
No, I think that it's up to the council whether they want to reconsider their vote. If they don't, that's fine. Go ahead.
The point is that lot 50 or 70?
Well, I'm not really sure now, because the
Yeah, if
Department
it's-
of Revenue, when I called last Friday or Friday before last, they emailed me, legal, and it said 70 by
So
100.
if it's 70, we grant him a variance and his shop stays. If it's 50, he's 11 feet into the street, which would be the problem. So the first thing we have to do is find out if it's really a 50 or a 70-foot lot.
But even if it's 70, sir, he is not within.
The setbacks can be adjusted.
I understand. Okay,
To me, it's excessive, they're excessive anyway, but
Yes.
that's my own opinion.
that's what I
And we
understand.
need to find out whether the lot is 50 or 70 feet and move on from that point.
Well, the problem is that we've gone through this mess for the last 2 or 3 weeks, and it started after the fact that the council approved the building permit, and then after the fact, there came in concerns and questions and things like that. As far as I know, he already had the gravel, 30 tons of gravel in there, tamped it down, spread it out, had his poles set right after that Monday meeting. So how can we go back and say, well, I'm sorry, but you can't build this, and he's already talked to a lawyer, an attorney, we can't afford a $35,000. And I don't understand, other than,
Is he on city property or is he on his own?
right, that's what I'm looking at. And as far as I was concerned, when I got the legal from the Department of Revenue in Red Lodge 2 weeks ago, he was not on city property.
But none of this would have happened had you not rushed it through at that meeting. And
I
it
didn't rush
wasn't,
it
the
through. It was-
honesty wasn't there. The honesty wasn't there. You had talked to him much before you ever sat in that chair. How much encouragement did he get to do all this?
He didn't get any encouragement from me. What happened is he called this town hall, and don't do that, Marge, because he did not get encouragement from me. He came to the town hall and he talked to Brenda. Then Brenda called me and I came down. This was like 2 months before he even purchased that property. He was just looking at it and working with the bank trying to purchase that property. Brenda called me and I came down here and I met him. We went over and looked at the property. Mike was over at the park trimming trees. Brenda called Mike and she said, Mike, will you take your metal detector over and see if you can find the pins on that property? Well, Mike couldn't find them. So we talked about it, and him and Mike we were talking about the setbacks and things like that, and I told him what the setbacks were. And he said he wanted to put a shop in there where he could tinker on his toys, his snowmobiles and his four-wheelers and things like that. We walked back there, and we stepped off. Mike and the guy that's building the shop stepped off from the alley 15 feet, and it came actually just beyond the middle of that old garage. And Mike made a mark right in that dirt right there. And I said, if you're going to do anything, you have to follow that. He said, okay. He wasn't even sure he was going to get the property. That was the last time I spoke to him until he brought that permit in, the building, or the zoning permit, and turned it into Brenda. We looked at it at city council meeting that night, and it was passed. Because at that point,
I remember very clearly.
at that point, I said I had been over there. I didn't really see a problem. That Mike and I had both been over there. and I didn't see a problem at that point.
I'm sure you didn't. I'm sure you didn't.
There was another question in the back door.
Jerry had his hand up an
I
hour
already
ago.
said something very, but I don't remember what it was.
Well, back to the meeting, when you go back to the minutes, of when you guys voted to approve that, you said the setbacks were met. Now, if that was on a drawing
That's what I
somewhere,
understood, that these setbacks had been met.
So now he's building a building not on your setbacks that you thought were met.
So what would you like us to do? Go and tell him he has to tear the shop down and move it and put it
Yes.
somewhere else or whatever?
At some point, somebody's gonna have to be accountable, whether it's him or us or you or somebody, I mean.
I've
otherwise it's
already
gonna
admitted
keep
that
going
I'm
on and on.
responsible for that. But I am not going to be pressured into saying that we're gonna tear this thing down and cause a big lawsuit. This is just, you know, I don't understand why everybody has such a big deal about this shop. It's not really hurting anybody. It might be an eyesore, but it's just,
At first, it started out with the trailer too, though, surely.
yes, he
Yeah,
did want
and
to put
that's
that
what
trailer.
that's
He
what
did
stirred
wanna
the
put-
pot.
He did want to put the trailer on there, and he was told, no, he could not put that semi-trailer on there. Just, Mark, go
I just
ahead.
have a question. Doesn't the town have to have some type of error and omissions insurance for mistakes like this?
We have liability insurance through MMIA.
Okay, but does it cover errors and omissions like a realtor or like a lawyer for malpractice, or I mean a doctor, excuse me? Do you guys have that
Very-
in case something like this, if you have a lawsuit?
Mhm.
Because you had said that the town can't afford it, so is that something that, you know?
What we're looking at is hiring an independent legal advisor or a lawyer
Oh, I see.
to defend us, because in this case, Hope cannot
Right,
defend the
right,
town against
right.
a lawsuit.
Okay,
So we're still looking at
Well,
the legal, and if we lose, plus the 35,000 plus whatever his.
Mark has a good point, though. You could call up MMIA, your insurance company, and say, if there was a mistake like this, how much does the insurance company cover us?
Mhm.
because that is the bottom line. You guys made a mistake, the town's responsible. You gotta pay, period. That's it. You guys screwed up. It happens. No matter if I'm working on a car and I screw something up, I pay for it. You guys screw something up, the town has to be held liable. That's part of the job. That's part of the hat you wear.
What Mike said.
So that's why I was wondering if it does come down to that, if somebody covers it.
I'm
That's
sure,
what insurance
yes,
is.
I'm sure we do, but, and mistakes have been made before, so, and they'll happen again, long after I'm gone.
Absolutely.
Carrie?
Well, I'm curious that since when you voted on it under the belief that it was within his property lines, within the setbacks.
Mm-hmm.
Is it not the property owner's responsibility then, is kind of your question, Hope? Responsibility to make sure they're within their own property lines?
Within their own property lines, I agree. Okay? If he said, yes, it's 15 feet back from all the property lines as required, and he represented that, and then he didn't build it within that, I think the town's on good grounds, okay? In other words, he misrepresented. But if the problem was, and I don't mean to blame Shirley
Oh, no, I'm not
Okay.
blaming.
or anybody, but if it turns out that it was her belief that the setback was only 6 feet or 10 feet rather than 15 feet,
Right.
and it was a mistake made by the town in granting the application, then it's back on the town to own up. We made a mistake, let's address it and.
Well, mistakes
Yeah.
are made, but
Oh, the building is not within his property line. The building exceeds his property line.
I didn't understand that until tonight. Everybody told me, according to all these plans, that it was within his property line.
that's what was stated as well in the minutes when they first voted on, according to the video. They said it was, there's YouTube, you can YouTube these meetings.
This goes back to what, is it, Bill? I'm sorry, I haven't been introduced to you yet.
That is Bill.
It is Bill.
Bill
It's
Blair.
what he said. If it is within the property line, then the issue is variance.
Yeah, then there's no problem.
Right, so why
If
don't
it's a
we,
50-foot lot, there's a problem. If there's a 70-foot lot, there's not a problem.
right, so why don't we just move forward with, okay, let's see what size the lot is, and then
50
the,
foot.
the question is, I believe it's 50 foot too, because I got that from the clerk recorder plat map, but once, then is it his responsibility to make sure he was within his property lines?
Yes.
So then the mistake is null and void, it's not a big deal. As far as the ordinances, the setbacks, all that, right?
Everything, yes.
So, and then I want to address the fact that Shirley said in our little neighborhood, people's yards and stuff look like poo. Nate and I have a very nice yard.
I wasn't referring to everybody. I said some of the buildings and some of the yards in that neighborhood are not.
Well, and some
The
of them are
greatest.
old. So, I mean, as
Right.
far as the old ones, but I would agree with Jim. We
But
don't
some
want,
of them have junk cars and trash and all kinds of stuff in
and
there.
I don't
Old
complain
washing
about my
machines.
neighbor like that. And I don't complain about the one with the dogs that keep barking either. I just go tell them, what do I need to do to keep your dogs quiet? Because frankly, I don't really like this drama
I don't either.
of the he said, she said. I want to know the facts, and I want to move forward with the facts. But obviously, somebody didn't do their research on the facts, and now we're in a conundrum. So can we go back to figuring out what the facts are and move from there? And
That's
then
what we're
let's
trying to
clean
do.
them up so that I don't feel like you're discriminating against me when I wanted to build on the next 2 lots that I have and just corner to corner. So I want the biggest shot for all my toys too.
You got the biggest piece of property over there too, don't you?
Yeah, I got
Yeah.
3 lots.
Yeah.
So now, because I was looking at all these setbacks, I'm like, well, that's
We're
a
not
tiny
saying you can't
shot.
build on any of those lots.
They're
Tiny.
Don't get us wrong.
You got 3 of them, what size are they? 60 feet.
They're 50 by 140.
No kidding. I've got one, if I can ever get in here.
You go ahead, Randy.
Last meeting, Brenda said that Mr. McKenzie was the owner of the property.
Yes,
That's not correct.
he and his wife together are.
Well, this
She
says,
is on,
According to the Department of Revenue, it's Lloyd and Sarah McKenzie.
well, this is a warranty deed to Sarah G. McKenzie. He's not on it.
and on this paper that I have for the state of Montana property record card, excuse me, it also states Sarah G. McKenzie with a Billings address purchasing the property at 21 First Avenue. However, they are husband and wife.
Well, we're not, the town of Fromberg probably isn't the only one that needs to get all of their stuff in one sock because of the Department of Revenue over in Carbon County, because I called the assessor's office or clerk of record or whatever they call them. And they were the ones that referred me to the Department of Revenue, who I called, and they sent us a legal description of the property, and it was 70 by 100 according to that.
Do you have a copy of it?
Yeah, you have a copy in your file. And so they over there also need to get their stuff together too, because they're contradicting themselves. I get one, a legal for 70 by 100, everybody else gets one for 50 by 140, so which is which? That could be a little confusing also. So they need to get their stuff together too.
What is it?
This is the only other
Along
one.
with us, we do need to get some of our stuff together, and we've been working really hard and trying to get some of that stuff together, so.
One small question with all this building stuff. Did anybody ask all his neighbors if they liked it?
We're not required to ask the neighbors. Only if there is a variance, then we'll send out letters to everyone within 300 feet.
That sounds like.
And it usually has to do, the variance usually comes after the zoning permit and before the building.
Like I
is
said,
put up.
it sounds like there's a variance. So,
We
did
do,
anybody ask his neighbors? I'm just asking. I'm not his neighbor, so, you know.
he will
Somebody builds on-
probably be
on
required to submit
one
a
side,
variance
they're gonna be doing a ditch.
application for that. If so, then letters will go out.
Just asking. Just
When
curious.
you got the information from the Department of Revenue, was there a plat map that showed what
I,
dimensions are, or did they just say it's 50 by whatever?
there was just a legal description, I'm sure.
I got this from someone.
I don't know what that is.
It's on the back. It's on the back of
It's the
this,
original.
Shirley. It's the back
On
page
the
of
back of
this.
the
This one,
application.
right? No. What I put in your file.
Okay.
I have a map that shows it 70 feet. This one here shows it 70 feet.
Yeah.
70 feet down there too.
Yeah, that's the. I'm looking for the,
It's in your zoning section.
well, I took all this stuff out.
What does that show, Tim? What does that show?
The legal from the Department of Revenue,
Is that what that is?
it shows
Just shows taxes.
70 by 100 and 100 feet, I think it was.
It doesn't
This
show
looks
that.
like it. They have a house right there.
I'm not sure what that is, because I don't have one of those.
It's in your zoning
Yeah,
section.
this is its thing of the house. Front of the house.
Okay. Then after the picture of your house, you should have this page.
Yeah, it's just a print of the house.
Okay.
House
That's
16,
what- this is all I
16 feet
have.
wide and 51 feet long.
Okay.
6-foot porch, 10-foot porch.
He's 51 feet long.
So it says, yes.
If he's 51 feet long and he's putting a 40-foot building on with space in between, how did he think he was hitting the setbacks?
I don't know, the house is 51 feet, the front porch looks like it's 6
I think
feet.
that's including both of the porches, the front and back porch. I think the house actually is only 30 some feet.
Yeah, it's not 50.
Now it says one porch is 10 feet deep, and the other is 6 feet, so.
So what that one paper says and what the picture says is two different things.
Two different things, yeah.
Yeah. This is from the state.
Zoning lot, 100%. $7,000 square feet, 70 by 100. That's from the state, that's a state property record.
Can you just put a stop building on that till it's measured for sure?
No.
He's already got it built, hasn't he?
I'd like to say something about that. Number one is when the zoning committee went over there, he only had the posts in there. Okay, that was Friday. Thursday after the vote to stop the application. Okay. Friday, we went over there. The posts were in there, nothing else. Monday and Tuesday, he went like wildfire and put up everything else. After the council stopped the process. So I would say that he's probably broke the law there and went against the council's directives. And that's a serious problem. The reason he has it all framed right now is because he wasn't following directions. Because that all happened on Monday, Tuesday, after the Thursday of the special vote. I know, I'm his neighbor, I watch it. So, the fact that he's got all this money into it, I'd say is kind of his problem, not the council's. I know this is true because I watched it.
Well, it's also the fact that all of this came up after the council approved the building.
No.
Yes, it did.
Yes,
The
but
council
Thursday-
approved on
Thursday,
Monday.
Thursday, they
Wednesday
stopped the
morning,
process.
I got calls from council people and stuff saying that they had gotten phone calls from neighbors and from Tammy and from that we appointed Tammy and you Monday night. 2 days later, we started getting phone calls saying that we need to do this or we need to do
We looked
that.
at it on Friday.
But
and the day
it was
before
approved
that
the
is when
Monday
the-
before that. The building permit was presented to council and approved the Monday before the
Yeah, I
Friday that you
realize
went
that,
out
but the
there.
Thursday after that,
So
the
everything is
council
after
voted.
the fact.
Thursday after that, the council voted no. And the Friday after that, we looked at it, and only the posts were in there. Then he proceeded, after the vote of the council to stop the process, he proceeded and went 2 days full bore trying to get the frame up. I'm saying he contradicted the directives of the council directly. And that's a defiance of the law.
You yourself said at that meeting that you would call him immediately and cease and desist on construction.
And I did call him that
So
same.
I wouldn't see we have a lawsuit because he continued on with construction even though he was told not to. But I'm not the town attorney.
But he was already told he could start, so then he did have the poles already in, and then it was after that
Yep.
that anything happened. So it's his story. Like, what if he did already buy a package deal with the idea, and it, you know, he didn't have time to put a cancel or whatever? It's possible it could be construed that he accepted the contract, because that's virtually what it is. There was a contract. They had said he could build, and then he went ahead and he acted upon that contract, and then after he acts upon the contract and you renege, there's damages to pay. That being said, I would say it would only be the gravel and the post, because there was the cease and desist, and then he went ahead and he did go balls to the walls, and go ahead and frame a whole bunch of stuff in afterwards. So I don't know where that lands it legally or whatever either, but it seems to me like there was a contract and he's acting
I think
upon
we
it.
should just leave it as it is and move on from here.
We need to set up another meeting where we can find out exactly what the measurements of the property is. Like Bill said, we need to know exactly what we're dealing with. And then we can proceed with the rest of this stuff at that point. And it would need to be soon. I would say Wednesday. When would you be able to be here? Oh,
This is up to you if you want to vote to change your vote. You've already changed the vote, okay? Right now, you're telling him he cannot build, is my understanding. Okay? If you want to enforce the cease and desist, then those are the
What's gonna happen?
consequences.
What we're doing is just opening a big can of worms.
I think there is an interim measure here. You can approach him and say, listen, are you willing to move the barn, you know, and make it compliant, and how much is it gonna cost? Might be considerably less than the $35,000 package that he purchased. And it might be considerably less than having him put the whole thing up, complete the project, and then say, hey, you gave me the go-ahead. And then you'd fight about the who said, he said, she
Yeah.
said. Approach
But
him,
we don't
see
know
what he's willing to do.
even if we are wrong. I mean, the measurements, the legal descriptions we've gotten are two
If the-
different types.
70 feet, there's no problem.
If we let it proceed on and it's wrong,